All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about economics and crypto and lots of other fun things. I actually have in this video, okay, I'm starting with something that has nothing to do with crypto, but Jordan Lindsay, somebody whose opinion I really respect. Give him a follow on X at Traders Mastery. We're going to look at something that he has to say about the Fed that I am very much resonant with. And then a few posts on Bitcoin, and then actually some on Ethereum that I find to be quite convincing that we should be bullish on Ethereum. And, you know, I've been saying on record that I'm expecting the stairs to climb, that we're going to climb the stairs with Bitcoin, and that we are in this new phase where we're going to climb the stairs with Ethereum as well. And so let's start with Jordan Lindsay here, and then there's some really interesting stuff that I have to share in this video. But let's see this. Okay, Jordan Lindsay, Fed's recent track record not looking good. Quote, inflation is transitory. If you remember that from 2020 and 2021, my goodness, it was ridiculous. Misreading the impact of running the printer and directing indirect gov stimulus, aka inflation is transitory. Waiting too long in a running hot economy to taper QE and hike rates. Absolutely. I mean, we got up to 6.9% inflation in November of 2021, and there was still no talk of hiking rates. Next, political cut ahead of elections with worse inflation and jobs data than the last few months. We saw a 50 basis point rate cut in September of 2024, conveniently ahead of the elections, trying to make things look better than they actually were. And then, here we go, believing tariffs were going to be, quote, inflationary, and Powell saying just yesterday that it's difficult to read. This never happened before except in 2016. It's so funny. There's lots of accounts that I follow, people who are liberals, who have been saying the tariffs are going to cause massive, massive inflation. And I want to be clear about something. These are people whose opinions I really respect. But I mean, that was the big thing. And it's becoming clear now, no, that's not how it's playing itself out. And inflation is still ranging, and you could even say coming down. It's between 2 and 3%. I know they want 2%, but all this fear about tariffs being inflationary, no, not quite. Jerome Powell thinks you are dumb. They are not behind the curve. Their incentives are different. And remember, they are as Federal Express, and there are no reserves. So, anyway, let's move on to actual Bitcoin content here. So, Bitcoin has delivered from Zhao Wetson. I feel like I'm going to quote him in every video. He just speaks my language. But Bitcoin has delivered just a 61% gain over the past 365 days. This is the weakest cycle so far. That's one way to look at it, but there's a different way to look at it. What do you think happens next? A red phase is coming. We'll spend a year in decline. Or number two, there's still more room for upside. Let's look at this chart. I mean, you can just see it, just Bitcoin's percentage change in 1 year. Significant spikes in previous cycles, not so much now. And why is that? Well, in my opinion, it's because Bitcoin is becoming more of an institutional investment. And like I said, we're climbing the stairs. We've just been climbing the stairs. Here we are with Bitcoin over $100,000, altcoins in bear market territory, because altcoins take advantage of these kinds of spikes. You see these big spikes in Bitcoin. And then what happens after that is altcoins start to explode. This time around, no big spikes in Bitcoin, and altcoins are struggling. And what if, all right, do I believe this is going to happen? No, not necessarily. I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin looked pretty vertical at some point. But what if this is just the new norm? You know, what if it's just this little green for quite a while, you know? And what does that mean for altcoins? Now, again, I don't think that's what's going to happen. But something to keep on your radar. Yeah, we do well with our altcoins when we see these big spikes in Bitcoin's price. But, okay, that may be the least exciting post that I share. Like I said, all right, I have some stuff on Bitcoin. I have some stuff on Ethereum. But both look good right now, in my opinion. I have been saying dips are probably going to be minimal. Maybe we'll get a little under $100,000 in Bitcoin. Who knows what that means for altcoins, but little under $100,000 on Bitcoin, and, you know, not that much lower on Ethereum. But Here we go from Killa XBT. Why I'm bidding longs on Bitcoin. Let's observe. First and foremost, Bitcoin has been in a parabolic upside trend since 75K. However, momentum is now starting to shift. The curve of the parabola is flattening and volume is decreasing. It's the summer months in the Northern Hemisphere. The first conclusions most traders draw are the rally is weakening. Sellers are gaining control due to a lack of passive demand supporting the price. While these signals are technically accurate, this is exactly where many traders begin to misread the situation. You are familiar with the term, the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent, right? This is my base case right now. This V-shaped recovery that we have seen in the stock market, this move to a new all-time high in Bitcoin, this is me talking, not reading the tweet. This is the irrational finishing move, in my opinion, that can take a few months. It could take 6 months. It could take a year and a half. And then what happens is the crows will come home to roost. While momentum has clearly slowed and bearish signals are outweighing bullish ones, that doesn't necessarily mean price will immediately roll over into a downtrend. After every strong market impulse, we typically see a period of ranging. Why? Because that's how liquidity gets trapped. It's during these phases that larger players offload their positions while retail traders get caught up in the small fluctuations within the range. The bigger players are simply accumulating at the lows and distributing at the highs. In the process, retail traders are getting chopped up, stopped out, and liquidated, effectively providing liquidity. Historically, market tops have consistently occurred in Q4. We've never seen a top form in Q2. We've only just entered the upper range while liquidity is building around this key swing high zone of 114 to 116K. My expectation is for the market to consolidate with this range for a longer period before any significant retracement. This prolonged ranging phase would help absorb more liquidity and shake out traders who are holding on to large swing short positions. We have only been in this upper range for 40 days. Previous ranges we saw were 60 to 200 plus. Are you okay with that? With that said, if I happen to be invalidated and we fall below 95K, congratulations, we have entered in a bear market and we'll be going to 50 to 60K. I actually do agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I don't envision a scenario where Bitcoin goes below 95K. If it does, I'm going to have to just try to rethink some things for sure. So, on-chain college, this is a chart I like to look at every periodically, every now and then, talking about Bitcoin holder and long-term holder supply. So in 2017, long-term holder supply goes down as price goes up. 2021, long-term holder supply goes down as price goes up. 2024, long-term holder supply goes down during local tops. And then 2025, long-term supply goes up as price climbs. Convicted holders are waiting for much higher prices. And I mean, you can see the big parabolic runs, 2017 and 2021, the first quarter of 2021 at least, we saw long-term holder supply go down significantly. And that is what happens because the selling pressure is just too high for these long-term holders. And then what we've seen recently is a little bit of a shift in behavior where right now what we've seen from that bottom in April, on April 7th, was long-term holder supply going up as Bitcoin has been going up. And so what do we make of that? Well, you know, somebody in the comment section pointed out a comparison worth noting that long-term holder supply went up in 2021, at the end of 2021, until we got to that peak. So you could make that conclusion that perhaps we're at a similar point, and what's next is a double top. 112 was the peak, double top similar to 2021. I do not believe that that's the case. I believe that this time is different than 2021, and the reason why has to do with everything that we've been talking about up to this point. Let me go back to this Zhao Wedson chart here. This is why it's different. We see the big euphoria, the big profit taking, massive profit taking, and we're just not seeing that right now. Massive spike in the price of Bitcoin over the last year. We're taking the stairs higher. This is a significant difference than when Bitcoin was at 69K. Look at how much higher of a percent it was from a year prior. It was still 500% higher. Right now, we flirt with 200% at times. Massive difference. So I do not believe, again, that this is a repeat of 2021. Now, Ethereum. Let's talk about Ethereum real quick. There's some very important things to look at with Ethereum. Let me click on this one first. There's a couple pretty long threads from Skyodelic. I want to remind you again, Skyodelic is a mega bull. So I take everything he says with a grain of salt. But there's what I like about his content is that he makes compelling arguments for his base case. But let's start with sentiment here. This is a good sign. This is really encouraging. As Ethereum trades right at the $2,500 level, the utility and growth of the network continues looking healthier than ever. The amount of new weekly ETH addresses created is ranging around 800K to 1 million per week, compared to about 1/3 less at this point last year, more like half. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. But but new wallets, we're seeing growth in the network, and we're seeing growth in the network at an interesting time when I would say that people were giving up on Ethereum. And you want to accuse me of giving up on Ethereum, and that's fine. I kind of have given up on Ethereum, but there's money to be made right now, not financial advice, in my opinion. So this is a good sign for AOL continuing to grow. In the 90s, AOL was the king, and there were times that I'm sure the writing felt like it was on the wall, but AOL continued to grow. This is my mindset with Ethereum right now, is that AOL is continuing to grow. Now, mega bullish post from Skyodelic. Ethereum is going to $10,000, and for anyone that doesn't think this is possible, you are simply suffering from recency bias, or you do not understand what is happening with ETH. Loaded language there, whatever. So let's scroll down here. Here's the bullish catalyst for ETH that I find very compelling for an argument to be to be bullish on Ethereum right now. Number one, Genius Act regulating stablecoins. We are about to get full confirmation of the Genius Act, which I've talked about. The Senate, the House, the United States government has a massive incentive to pass this act because of the bond market, because stablecoins are bought by stablecoin issuers buy treasuries. It makes perfect sense for them to buy treasuries. It is a money glitch, and it's a fantastic money glitch. So, all right, we are about to get full confirmation of the Genius Act, which is full legislation regulating stablecoins and opening up the floodgates for TradFi Wall Street move into this market. 40% of all USDT is held on ETH. 75% of all USDC is held on ETH. JP Morgan is also tokenizing bank deposit stablecoins on Base, which is obviously powered by ETH. Stablecoins will be the largest sector of crypto, and ETH by far has the majority share. TradFi will take this to another level. I resonate with that, absolutely. Number two, talked about this a ton. Institutions bidding like crazy. In the last 8 days, ETFs have added $1.25 billion in 19 days. I don't understand the wording of that. Okay, either 8 days or 19 days, $1.25 billion. That is many multiples of the amount of ETH minted per day. And there is we're gonna see the next tweet. So you might be asking, why is Ethereum's price staying around? Why is it not exploding? The next tweet is going to answer that question. This is the most buy volume since 2017. Do you think they are bidding this heavy for it to go down? Nothing else needs to be said on this matter. Number three, another compelling argument here. Ethereum staking ETF is coming. I do wonder if this could be a catalyst for not full-blown alt season, but for altcoins to do well, because we've been waiting for this to happen. We've been counting down the days. And here right now, we have 29% of all ETH is staked, earning fees. How much of an appeal will it be for institutions if they can also stake it? It makes sense now. Maybe why are they buying so heavily? Next upcoming date for approval is the Bitwise staking ETF on the 4th of July. All right. Next, we have layer 2s, tokenization, RWAs. Okay, RWA going to be a big thing in the future. I don't know how ready we're for this run, but keep your eyes open for that in the future. So anyway, ETH to 10,000. We're going so much higher. We'll see. We will see. Moving on. Now, Skyodelic again, and this is the thing I was talking about. It's interesting. You know, what if you look at ETH's price action lately, it's just staying within this range, and it seems like every time it goes below 2,500, it bounces right back up. It's as if they want to buy sub 2,500 ETH, and they're also trying to suppress it so that they can buy more sub 2,500 ETH. So we have some Skyodelic again. Once this stops, ETH is going to skyrocket. What's this? This is what Skyodelic is talking about. We are seeing heavy shorting going on with Ethereum right now from specific players who want the price to be suppressed. So let's read this again. Once it stops, ETH going rocket. Right now, we have the largest amount of institutional inflows into ETH we have ever seen, combined with ETH whale wallets added. This is most amount of buy pressure since 2017. It's massive. So why is the price steady / down? Because it is being heavily shorted by large funds. Right now, there are record shorts open on ETH. Why? It's not because they think the price will go down. It's quite clear to me that ETH is being purposely and aggressively manipulated downwards to give all the big players time to load their bags as low as possible before these two things. The Genius Act is fully finalized and the ETH ETF staking is approved July 4th. In just the overall bullish period of this market where ETH is about to melt faces, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, let's move on. Once these guys are finished loading, the shorts will be closed and the rally will be immense. TLDR, ETH is a massive beach ball being held underwater. Whilst having more air added to it every day, at some point it's going to launch hard. Compelling arguments. I'm not a mega bull like this guy is, but I think this is what we have coming up for Ethereum. Now, Bitcoin and Ethereum, is there anything else? Because the altcoin market has been murder lately. Well, you know, we have Sui, and Sui is still just fundamentally continuing to knock it out of the park. So Torero Romero, Sui passes $45 billion in total aggregator volume, up 19.22%. In the last, how many days was that? 30 days. And I don't mind charts that look like this. This is just very steady growth in Sui. It seems like the hack, the Cetus hack, hasn't really had much of an effect on Sui, and that's good to see. So another thing to be hopeful for. Now, Sui is a falling knife, and so I wouldn't touch it yet. I have my entry set around $2.20. I will be bidding spot Sui at that point. My Sui wallet has like $6,000 or $7,000 of stable coins just sitting in the wallet waiting for the ideal time. I do not believe that this is the ideal time. Now, this is an interesting place. I closed out a short that I was in right at this level, $2.78, but I am waiting and expecting for the price to fill this gap here, this particular candle. And when would I be interested in this again? $2.20. If it gets there, I will be buying lots of Sui. Lots and lots of Sui. Ready for the next ride up. Okay, so interesting. In today's, I did not expect that. Iran stock market sitting near all-time highs. Israel stock market making all-time highs. Twitter accounts. Black Swan, World War III, crash, short, sell it all. I did not know that both of those things were true, that Iran and Israel are at new all-time highs. Yeah, that would be a type situation. So, don't get shaken out. Do not get shaken out of your bags unless you're holding some absolute hot trash. Don't get shaken out. All right, so anyway, that is all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your week, and I will most certainly be seeing you in another video. Peace.